You are already ahead of 90% of people if you can speak English fluently. It is statistically proven that a person who knows English has more job opportunities, education advantages, and more access to information and social connections than the average person. I would say that if you look at the people in your country, maybe only 5%, 10%, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, can speak English fluently. So that means there's a supply and demand issue, which means you don't even need to speak English perfectly. You just need to be okay to be ahead of 90% of people. And I hope you want this, but because you click on this video, I know you don't want to be average, you don't want to be like everybody else, you want to be different and stand out. So this is gonna be perfect for you. So here's why you can listen to me. In just 2 years, I developed advanced speaking skills in English and became fluent. And I would like to think that you can agree with that. I can now talk about almost anything with anyone. My native language is Portuguese. And here's the surprising part. I did it by myself without ever setting foot in an English-speaking country before. And in this long video, don't worry, you don't have to watch it all in one setting. I'm going to share everything I know that helped me reach this level. This is a complete course designed to take you from where you are right now to the next level, faster than most people ever do. Many spend years or never reach the level that they dream of. But with the strategies I will share, you will learn how to get there easier and quicker. I'll cover everything from building confidence to mastering advanced speaking techniques, no matter how long you take to finish this video. If you watch it carefully, take notes, and put advice into action, you will see real improvement and get closer to your goals with every step. So, relax and let's get started. First of all, let's start shifting your mindset to become the English speaker that you want to be, because English is a new thing for you, especially for your brain. You will most likely have this shift of mindset from your native language to English. Maybe a small difference that eventually can make you feel like a different person when you speak in English. And you're going to take advantage of that. Now, for a few times in my personal life, I even had people telling me that I sounded different in English, and that stuck with me since then. And why is that exactly? When I first started speaking English, something curious happened. I felt like a different version of myself. It wasn't just about using new words. I noticed subtle shift in how I approach conversations. I was less direct, sometimes even less confident. I couldn't express thoughts that felt a little bit simpler in my native language. It's almost like English opened up a new door inside me, a version of myself that was kind of curious, eager to learn, and even more shy by the limitations I felt in Portuguese. And here's where it gets even more powerful. You can intentionally shape this new identity. English can become the language where you're more bold, more outspoken, or more creative. You're not bound by the same social rules or expectations you've internalized in your native language. You get to decide how your English-speaking self will act and sound. Because even though English made me feel like that in the beginning, which is a natural path, you can completely shift this mindset and use English to make you more direct, more confident, and even fearless. So this is what I decided to do. I completely reinvented myself to be sort of like an upgraded version of who I was speaking Portuguese. And like I said, I remember some people even telling me that I sounded different in English. My voice, my energy, everything. At first, I didn't quite understand, but over time, I realized that speaking English gave me a fresh way to express who I am. And this can happen to you. If you feel shy or reserved when you speak a native language, use English as your chance to step out of that. Start small, maybe challenge yourself to be a little bit more expressive or daring when you speak in English. Let it become your new normal in this language. By doing this, you will notice that your confidence will grow naturally and the lines between your native and English selves will start to blur. You will not just feel like someone learning English, you will start to feel like someone living English with all the personality and flair that comes with it. This is more than just speaking another language. It's a transformation of how you carry yourself in the world. So let English become that space where you express a side of yourself that you didn't even know was there in a way. And remember, The goal isn't to change who you are fundamentally, but to enhance your ability to communicate in English by leveraging the flexibility that comes with learning a new language. So take this opportunity to challenge yourself, transform yourself, and be a little more fearless. This is the first step to make sure that you are mentally prepared to take action and endure what is to come. Most importantly, this is how you grow as a person. But that's just the top of the iceberg. There's much more to cover, and without the first step, you will never be able to do everything effectively. And this is what most people do when they want to start fresh or even become a better version of themselves. They shave their head, they do a challenge, they don't eat for a few days. But here, you will use English as a skill to take advantage of this opportunity. This is really important because when you try to speak in English, you will naturally fall into that introvert personality. You'll be afraid of judgment and making mistakes and being laughed at, and so on, so on. So if you are aware and intentionally force yourself to be more outgoing and fearless, when you make that transition from your native language to English, your brain will get used to it, and soon you will start to build a belief that English doesn't have to be scary at all. Can you see this? Yes, you can. So, who are you? Who are you? You're not your body. You're not your name. Who are you? So, you are a collection of skills, characteristics, beliefs, and paradigms. So, let's say this is you right now. This is you right now, and you have your current beliefs, your current paradigms, characteristics, and skills. And you want to be this person. You want to be a better version of yourself. If you carry your beliefs and your paradigms, especially your beliefs, to this person, it's not going to be easy for you. You're going to suffer more than you have to. So this is the person that you want to become. You want to become a better version of yourself. You want to learn English. You want to speak English confidently. You want to speak English fluently so you can start a business, so you can go study abroad, so you can get a better job, so you can do all these things, move abroad. And like I said, you have all these beliefs and they are part of your identity. But if you carry your current beliefs to the person that you want to become, it's going to be harder for you. And look, and I know, I'm sure that there's some people in your life that you act differently around them. You're more comfortable. You don't care what people think. You speak your mind. Maybe your family, maybe your friends. But then you act differently around people that you don't know that much, the majority of people. So you're essentially playing these two roles in your life. So you know how to do this. You know how to do this. So there's no magic. You just have to force yourself to become that new identity. To make sure that every time you want to speak English, you force yourself to become that person. You force yourself to become that part of you that speaks your mind, that doesn't care what people think. So you gotta make sure when you speak English, you become that person. You force yourself. There's no magic. That you force yourself to become that identity that speaks more, that is more comfortable. Because you know how to do this. You know how to do it. So like I said, there's no magic. You just gotta do it. You just gotta force yourself when you speak English. And this is gonna play a huge role when I talk about fear, how to get rid of fear, and how to become confident once and for all. So let's continue. Now, fear is arguably one of the biggest problems that prevents you to speak English fluently. And I wanna make sure that this is the only video that you have to watch about it. I want you to pay attention because this can literally change your life. So why do we fear? Because it's wired into our brains. It's a survival instinct. So every time you feel in danger or that something might happen to you, you feel fear. In English learning, people are afraid of speaking, writing in front of others, or even reading in front of others. But would you agree that you don't fear doing these things by yourself, right? So therefore, you're not afraid of speaking, writing, or reading in English. You're afraid of being judged. But there's a reason why you don't want people to judge you. Because you're afraid of being embarrassed and therefore people rejecting you. Because you show that you're not perfect. You make mistakes. It hurts your ego. What people are gonna think of me, right? But why exactly do we fear getting rejected by others? There's so many people out there, and there's always somebody out there who will not reject us. Well, it's an old survival instinct that, even though it no longer serves us in the same way nowadays, it still affects how we react. We are social creatures, therefore, in a way, fear rejection ties back to the fear of death. In the past, we deeply rely on community, so getting rejected was even worse because it was a sign that we could die at any moment by being alone. Now, could you ever imagine that the fear of doing all of this in English ties back to the fear of death? And this is very important because the first step to overcome fear is to understand them in a deeper level. Now that you understand fear, I want to show you a few techniques to overcome fear, especially fear of judgment, the most important one to start. If you can get rid of this fear, you'll be fine. The reason why you're so afraid of speaking English is that you focus too much on yourself. Therefore, you think that everybody else is also focused on you. But the truth is, nobody is more focused on you than yourself. So the best technique that you can use to shift the focus away from yourself is to focus onto your message. Instead of thinking, what are they gonna think of me? Focus on how can I get my message across as clearly as possible. That way, you would take your mind off of the thought of being judged onto communicate in an effective way. Now, I know anxiety is a huge part of this problem and it can also hold you back. And here's what I did to reframe anxiety and turn into motivation. So essentially, anxiety is just energy. So for many people, when you get that feeling of butterflies on your stomach, I believe is when you are the most powerful. But most people, instead of transforming that energy into excitement, they get nervous. So when you feel your heart racing or your palms sweating, remind yourself that this is your body gearing up for action. You're ready. So transform that nervous energy into performance energy. Another technique is to control your breathing. So when you start to feel anxious, slow down your breathing. Take a deep breath in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold it for 4, and then inhale slowly for 4. This slows your heart rate, calms your nerves, and gives you time to gather your thoughts. So essentially, the only reason you are afraid is because you know there's people that speak English better than you, and you are focusing too much on yourself because you are afraid of being judged, which ties back to the fear of death. And the only way you can overcome this fear is by stopping putting people that know more than you on a pedestal and stop trying to be so perfect all the time and too much on your head, especially native speakers, because native speakers didn't have to go through what you're going through. They had the privilege to be born in an English-speaking country, so they will learn English. They learn English naturally, just by luck. So they didn't have to go through this. They will always be better in some way than you at English. And once you realize this, once you stop trying to be so perfect, you will stop feeling so afraid of speaking in English all the time. Nobody cares as much as you care about yourself, and once you realize this, you will stop trying so hard and start embracing your flaws and mistakes, which will encourage you to keep going and practicing more and more. And that is how you will eventually be free, break free from this fear. And look, pay attention to this message. The moment that you fear of staying where you are, it's bigger than the fear of doing what you know you have to do to achieve your goals. You become unstoppable. So let's say this is you, and this is the person that you're talking to in English, maybe a native speaker. The only way, the only reason you are afraid of speaking in English, it's because you're putting this person here on a pedestal. And I can prove to you this. Think about it. Imagine that you are speaking with someone in English that doesn't know more than you. You know more English than that person. You speak better. You are more fluent. Would you be afraid of speaking with that person? Probably not, because you know more than her, let's say her. So you are focusing too much on yourself and on your mistakes because you're afraid of being judged by this person that knows more than you do. So let me tell you something. My cousin, she speaks English fluently. So the first time that she heard me speaking in English, she thought that my English was perfect. So essentially what happened was, I was more afraid of speaking in front of her than I was speaking with a native speaker. Think about it. Because she thought my English was perfect. And I was like, I cannot make mistakes in front of her because she thinks that my English is perfectly, and I don't want her to know that my English is not perfect. I don't want to make mistakes in front of her. So I was more afraid speaking in front of her than I was with a native speaker. And that is what I want you to understand. It's about yourself, not about others. If you focus too much on yourself, you're gonna feel fear all the time. And this is gonna be of extreme importance for the next topic. So let's continue. Now that we already talked about fear, what about confidence? You see, confidence is that one thing that we all admire in others, but feel like we lack ourselves. But here's the truth. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And the good news is that it's a lot easier to build than you might think. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed that the more you do something, the less scary it becomes? Think back to something you used to be afraid of, like maybe it was riding a bike or speaking in front of a small group, something like this. And at first, it was terrifying, right? But after doing it over and over again, you stopped thinking about so much. It became second nature. And confidence in speaking English works exactly the same. And you see that confidence and fear connect with each other, and usually one leads to the other. The more confidence you have, the less afraid you are. And the less confident you are, the more afraid you are. Now let's understand the psychology of confidence. Now, let's break down what confidence really is. Confidence is not waiting for the day you feel ready or good enough to speak English. It's about taking action even when you don't feel ready and proving to yourself that you can do it. And every time you speak, whether it's a full conversation or just saying one sentence, you're sending your brain proof that you are capable. Now, it's easy to think that confident people don't feel fear or anxiety. But here's a little secret, they actually do. The only difference is that they don't let fear stop them. They've learned to act in spite of that fear. It's like building muscle. The more you do it, the stronger it gets. So if you're waiting for some magical moment where you suddenly feel confident, you just have to stop waiting, because confidence comes from doing it. Now I'm gonna give you a list of things that you can do daily to build unshakable confidence, step by step. Start small, win big. Here's the thing. You don't need to have perfect English or hold a full conversation to start building confidence. Start with small wins. Maybe it's saying hello to someone in English or ordering food in a restaurant or something. These little moments add up, and before you know it, you are stacking up victories. The more you practice, the more your brain start to say, hey, I've got this, I can do this. And that's how you start building confidence over time. Make speaking a daily habit. This is probably one of the most important things. Consistency. Speak English every single day, even if it is just for 5 minutes. Talk to yourself in the mirror, record voice notes, or practice with a friend. The more you expose yourself to speaking, the more natural it becomes. Remember, confidence grows with repetition. Visualize success. Now, this might sound a little bit cliche, but trust me, it works really, really well. Picture yourself being successful. Imagine yourself speaking clearly, confidently, and getting your message across. This simple mental exercise trains your brain for success and gets you in the right mindset before you even open your mouth. Now, there's some easier exercise that you can do daily to build your confidence, like every hour, especially if you're like really busy. You can do these things no matter how much time you have. Mirror talk. So you're gonna stand in front of the mirror and practice speaking. It might feel weird at first, but it's one of the best ways to get comfortable with your voice and the way you express yourself in English. Focus on the message, not on how perfect your grammar is or your pronunciation. Voice recording. This is a game changer. Start recording yourself speaking about a topic that you love it. Doesn't matter if you make mistakes. Just get comfortable hearing yourself speak. Play it back and then listen and notice how you improve over time. It's one of the best ways that you can see how much you're going to improve over time, because then you're going to have that voice that you record a few months ago or a few weeks ago. Then you're going to listen to it and see how much you improved over the last weeks or months. Shadowing. Find a video or a podcast in English and try to repeat what the speaker says. I'm not saying you need to mimic every single word perfectly, but try to match their flow and state, and because this is gonna help you sound more natural when you speak. Push your boundaries. Set a weekly goal so you can get out of your comfort zone more. Maybe this week you challenge yourself to ask someone for directions in English, I don't know, or you participate in a short conversation. Each time you push your limits, you'll see your confidence grow. Now I want to give you strategies so you can feel more secure speaking in front of others. Now let's talk about speaking in front of others, because let's be real, it's a lot scarier when other people are involved. We can all agree with that. But here's something that might surprise you. People are not watching you as closely as you think. We are so caught up in our own heads that we rarely pay attention to what others are doing. And that is the secret. Shift the focus. Instead of worrying about how people might judge your English, focus on what you're trying to say. Think about it. If you are delivering a message, it's more important that people understand what you mean rather than how perfect your grammar is. The goal is to communicate, not to be perfect. Like I said so many times, prepare like a pro. If it's possible, one of the best ways to feel confident is to prepare. Know what you want to say before you say it. If you are about to have a conversation or give a presentation, take a few minutes to rehearsal. The more you practice, the more natural you feel when it's time to actually speak. Breathe and relax. I cannot stress this enough. Breathe. So many people don't breathe the right way. When you feel nervous or anxious, take a deep breath in through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold it for 4, then inhale through your mouth for 4. This slows your heart rate, calms your nerves, and clear your mind. You'll be surprised at how much more in control you feel with just a few deep breaths. And this is how you build confidence, not by waiting for it, but by creating it step by step. The key is to start small, practice daily, and keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone every single day if it's possible. Confidence is earned through action, and the more you practice every single day, the more natural speaking English will feel for you. And it was exactly the same for me. You think that I was able to turn on a camera and record myself speaking like this? Of course not. Of course, I was even worse. I don't think I have reached my full potential yet, but I was even worse. And if you think that I have just 20 something videos in my channel, it's not true at all. I recorded so many more videos before that, like 10 or even 15, that I suck at it and I got better, but I can be much better. But just by doing repetition, consistency, taking action every single day. You think that I'm gonna get better speaking with a camera or speaking with someone by reading a book, by watching a video? Of course, that is important. You have to consume information, you have to know what you're doing. But if you wanna really improve, you have to take action every single day, because repetition is the key to become confident. Now that we already talked about how to overcome fear, build confidence, change your mindset, and create a new identity when you speak, let's talk about one of the most important parts that is going to help you speak better, express yourself better, and develop powerful speaking skills in English. building a strong vocabulary. Think about it, vocabulary is the foundation of language. Without the right words, you are limited in how you express yourself. And to speak English fluently with confidence, you need more than just basic words. You need to be able to say exactly what you mean. And for that, your vocabulary has to be on point. Now, before you start thinking, but learning new words is hard and really boring, I want you to stop and pay close attention, because the way we're going to approach this can transform the way you learn vocabulary forever. This is not about memorizing random words that you will forget in a few days. This is about building a system so your vocabulary grows naturally and sticks for the long run. First things first, why do we struggle with vocabulary? Well, just like building confidence or overcoming fear, we put too much pressure on ourselves. And we think that we need to know every word perfectly before we can use it. But here's the reality. You don't need to know every word. You just need to know the right words for situations that you are in. And you can learn those words in creative, stress-free ways. So I'm gonna make sure that I give you 5 steps, a system that you can follow so you can build a strong vocabulary. And you're never gonna have to say again that is boring and hard. Now, I don't know if you have ever noticed this, but it's way easier to remember words from movies or conversations, but not from lists you've studied. That's because our brains learn best through context. When you hear or see a word in action, it's easier to remember. So the first unique way to build your vocabulary is to immerse yourself in real life English. Watch movies, read books, listen to podcasts, things you enjoy, and pay attention to the words you don't know. But don't just look them up and move on. Write them down, look for the same word in different situations, and use in a sentence of your own. This way, you're not just memorizing, you're learning through real life examples. And it's so much easier to remember. Now, after you do that, you gotta make sure that you go to the next step. And I know this sounds simple, but this technique is a game changer. Get yourself a small notebook or a notes app, and every time you learn a new word, write it down along with its meaning and an example sentence. But here's the key. Don't make just a boring list. Make it your own, and definitions in your own words. Write a funny or personal sentence that helps you remember and revisit often. Think of like building your own toolbox in a way. And over time, you have a collection of words that are not just in your memory, but in your daily usage. Here's another way that most people overlook. And because you're watching this video and you understand most of it, you're gonna be able to do this pretty easily. So take a few simple everyday sentences you use all the time and find alternative ways to say them. For example, instead of always saying, I'm happy, learn to say, I'm thrilled, or I'm over the moon. By doing this, you are training your brain to go beyond basic vocabulary and stretch into more advanced, expressive territory. The more you replace simple words with richer ones, the stronger your vocabulary becomes, and the more natural it feels to use those words in conversations. Now, this is where it gets fun. Our brains love connection, so use this to your advantage. When you learn a new word, immediately associate it with something visual, a feeling, or even a sound. For example, if you learn the word sadness, imagine a rainy day or a sad song. The stronger the mental connection, the better the word sticks in your vocabulary. This turns learning to a creative activity, not just another task that you have to do all the time. Now, one of the best ways that most people don't even know about to build a strong vocabulary is talking to yourself. You don't need anyone around you to start using your new vocabulary. One of the most effective ways to make sure that you are learning and improving is to incorporate them into your self-talk. So throughout the day, narrate what you're doing or thinking in English, and make a conscious effort to use the new words you've learned. So if you have just learned the word amazing, let's say, it's a very common word that most people already know, but it's just an example. Say something like, this morning jog feels amazing. The more you speak to yourself, the more natural the words become. Now, building a strong vocabulary is not about learning hundreds of words at once. It's about making the words you do learn part of your everyday life. So you don't need a perfect vocabulary to speak confidently. You just need the right words to express what you want to say. And just like overcoming fear or building confidence, the moment you realize that you don't have to be perfect, but just consistent, you become unstoppable. So this is the system and the steps that you have to follow to build a strong vocabulary from now on. And if you just follow this, I will guarantee you that you will build a strong vocabulary. And of course, you have to be consistent, you have to have discipline, but if you do that every day, for weeks, for months, you will eventually build a strong vocabulary that's going to help you express yourself better and develop powerful speaking skills in English. Now, I know pronunciation can feel tricky. A lot of people struggle with it, and it can be one of those things that hold you back from speaking confidently. But here's the reality. Perfect pronunciation is not the goal. It's about being understood. And if people can understand you, you are already winning. So let's dive into pronunciation mastering. So we're going to start with focus on exercises to refine your accent. Now, I'm not saying you have to speak like a native speaker. Your accent is part of who you are, and you don't need to erase that. What you want to is focus on clarity. We will go through exercises that help you get rid of any sounds that make it hard for people to understand you. So think of it like smoothing out rough edges. You will still sound like you, but clearer and more confident. Now, it's not about sounding like someone else. It's about being clear. So here's two powerful techniques to get you started. Now, this technique is similar to shadowing, but here you pay close attention to how your mouth moves. So watch native speakers in videos or even TV shows and mimic the way they shape their words. So pay attention to the lips, tongue, jaw movements you can even do in front of the mirror. The goal is to train your mouth to naturally form the sounds correctly. Because if you have an accent, if you have a poor pronunciation, it's all because you don't move your mouth correctly. Minimal pairs. Minimal pairs are words that sound almost the same, but differ by one sound, like chip and ship. So by practicing minimal pairs, you will sharpen your ability to hear and pronounce tricky sounds. You can find the list of minimal pairs online, or you can create your own. So say the words out loud, slowly, then speed up as you get more comfortable. These exercises are great for smoothing out pronunciation issues and making sure your accent doesn't interfere with understanding. And finally, we will focus on improving clarity. So you know when you are in the middle of a conversation and sometimes the words don't come out the way that you wanted to come out, that is what we will try to fix it. I will show you some simple techniques that will make sure that every word you say is clear, even when you're speaking quickly. Trust me, after you master these techniques, you'll find that speaking English becomes not only easier, but much more enjoyable. It's slow practice, fast results. To improve clarity, start speaking slowly. And I know this sounds weird because most people think that when you are fluent, you will speak faster, and it's better if you speak faster. But when your goal is to keep up with fast conversations, by practicing slow, deliberately speech, you will train your brain and mouth to articulate words more precisely. Start by reading out loud slowly, pay attention to each word, and once you feel comfortable, gradually increase your speed. This will help you speak faster without losing clarity. Chunking. This technique is about breaking up your sentences into small, manageable pieces or chunks. So instead of rushing through an entire sentence in one breath, pause between important ideas. For example, instead of saying, I went to the store to buy some milk and then I went home, try to break it up. I went to the store to buy some milk and then I went home. Those little pauses make your speech clearer and easier to follow, especially in long conversations. Because if you just speed up your speech, it becomes confusing and it's just not easy to follow. By practicing these techniques, you will ensure that even when you are speaking quickly, your words remain crisp and understandable. So remember, mastering pronunciation and intonation is not about being perfect. It's about speaking in a way that is clear, emotional, and yours. And once you nail these skills, you will sound more confident and fluent without even trying too hard. And that is the goal, right? To be understood, to express yourself fully, and do it with ease. Now, speaking English fluently is more than just mastering pronunciation or knowing a few phrases. It's about reprogramming your mind and overcoming mental challenges and pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. Now, this part of the full guide, you're gonna learn some techniques that are really, really powerful, advanced speaking skills. But what makes them work is how you approach them. It's about shifting your mindset, facing your fears, and letting go of perfectionism. One of the toughest things for any language learner is the feeling of being stuck in translation. If you are constantly thinking in your native language and translating into English, it feels like there's a wall between you and fluency. That's frustrating and exhausting, and is why so many learners give up or feel that they're not improving fast enough. And you have to know that thinking in English is not just a technique, it's a mindset shift. It's about training your brain to let go of control and trust the process. It's about accepting that mistakes will happen and that's okay. You know, fluency doesn't mean perfection. It means being able to express yourself naturally, even if it's not 100% perfect. And why thinking in English is so important. When you think your native language first, your brain has to do two things: translate and then speak. That slows you down, makes you overthink, and often leads to mistakes. But when you can think directly in English, you remove that middle step. Your thoughts and words flow together and making your speech faster, more natural, and less stressful as well. Now, here are a few ways to help you think in English more naturally. Mental immersion. Now, if you want to think in English, you gotta make sure that you are immersed in the language. How do you expect to think in English if you're not consuming English all the time, if you're not forcing yourself to speak? When you wake up thinking in English, think about something that you can say. Like, for example, what I'm gonna do today. Then tell yourself what you have to do, what you're gonna do, what you wanna do. You can even name certain objects in English, and then you can train your brain to always say the name of the object instead of saying the name in your native language. Because when you look at something and you're so used to speak in your native language, your mind would automatically say that object in your native language because you're so used to it. And when you force yourself to do these mental tricks, your mind will eventually, over and over again, get used to it. Trust the process. One of the biggest hurdles is learning to stop translating. It's uncomfortable at first because it feels like you're losing control, but fluency is about surrendering to the language, allowing yourself to make mistakes and learning to think in English without constantly checking yourself. And of course, this shift will not happen overnight, but with constant practice, you will start thinking English not because it's forced, but because it becomes natural. Fluency drills. Now, we all know that the fear of stumbling or getting stuck while speaking is a reality, and I know how hard it is. For many learners, this fear creates a fear between where they are and where they want to be. They think, what if I forgot the word? What if I sound dumb? The fear is paralyzing, and it's why fluency feels like a mountain to climb. But the reality is that fluency is not about speed. It's about freedom. It's about freeing yourself from the fear of imperfection. If you wait to speak fluently until you can do it without making mistakes, you will never get there. Fluency is a byproduct of pushing your boundaries, speaking even when you are uncertain, even when you might mess up. And fluency drills are like workouts for your brain. The more you push, the faster your brain learns to respond in real time. So how exactly you push past those boundaries? Rapid fire Q&A. Now, this technique is really powerful because it forces you out of your comfort zone. The idea is not to answer perfectly, but to answer quickly. It's about training your brain to process English faster without the luxury of overthinking. It's okay to stumble, it doesn't really matter. It's okay if you don't know the perfect word. What matters is that you keep going no matter what. This drill mimics real life conversations where you don't have to stop and think for minutes before replying. Speed speech. Talking non-stop for 1 minute is not only about wasting time or filling time. It's about unlocking your natural flow. The more you practice, the less you will rely on perfect conditions to speak. You will start to realize that even when you are unsure, your brain has the capacity to come up with words. It's a confidence building exercise. Each time you do it, you are sending your brain a message. It's okay to speak imperfectly. If there's one thing that terrifies English learners, is the idea of unexpected conversations. Think about it. When you are speaking with someone and they ask you a question that you were not ready for, it's like your brain freezes. And why? Because we are conditioned to think we need to be prepared for everything, that we need to have the right words ready all the time. But real life doesn't work like that. Conversations are unpredictable, and real fluency means be able to do all these things under pressure. Another great technique for advanced speaking skills is improvisational speaking. It's about teaching your brain to respond without panic. Essentially, it's about trusting that even when you are caught off guard, you can still keep the conversation going. And the more comfortable you become with the unknown, the more confident you will be in any situation. Because at the end of the day, fluency is not about memorizing perfect scripts. It's about being able to handle anything that comes your way. And whether it's a question you are not expecting, a topic you don't know nothing about, or a conversation that shifts directions. The yes and technique. Now, this technique's a lifesaver. Instead of getting stuck thinking, oh no, I don't know how to respond, this technique teaches you to accept what is said and build on it. So it's about embracing the flowing with the conversation. You're not just answering, you're adding value and keeping the momentum going. Sometimes you find yourself in situations where you are out of your own mind. You didn't even know where you are. You didn't even know what to think. And maybe someone is talking about a subject you don't know nothing about, and the fear creeps in. And then you tell yourself, I have nothing to add. But here's the thing, fluency doesn't mean knowing everything. It means being able to steer conversations in a way that makes you feel comfortable. And you can always shift the topic related or ask questions that steer the conversation towards your strengths. So essentially what you're doing is just shifting the topic, but you are shifting the topic to something that you know, to something that you want to talk about. And these are advanced speaking techniques that you can implement into your daily routine, so you can practice over and over again, and eventually they're not going to be much more advanced anymore. So the first step is creating a personalized speaking plan. The first step is all about creating the plan to your personal goals and lifestyle. This is really important because not everybody is the same. So by personalizing your plan, you are more likely to stay consistent and motivated along the journey. And look, I'm going to give you one of the best plans that I think is really going to help you. A plan that is going to make you develop your speaking skills really, really well. But of course, it's up to you. If you want to remove things, if you want to add more things, it's up to you. You see what's best for you and you adjust for you, for yourself. So the first thing that you're going to do is define clear goals. So you're going to set both long-term goals and short-term goals. Make sure that your goals are measurable, such as short-term goal. I will speak for 15 minutes every day in English without pausing or going back to my native language. Long-term goal. I will hold a 30-minute conversation with a native English speaker by the end of 3 months. Daily speaking habit. Start small, but commit to a non-negotiable speaking session every day. Even if it is just 5-10 minutes. The important thing is to build consistency. So for example, you can speak into a voice record about your day or describe something around you. And every week you're gonna review that and see your progress by asking yourself, did I reach my daily speaking target? Which conversations felt easiest? Which felt hard? What areas need improvement? Vocabulary, pronunciation, fluency. And you're gonna do this also every month. Set aside one day at the end of each month to evaluate how much closer you are to your long-term goals. And every time you're gonna adjust your plan if needed. So either increasing difficulty or adding new challenges as you progress. The power of repetition, how to reinforce your speaking skills. Repetition is one of the most important of any learning process, especially when it comes to mastering speaking skills. So to get the most out of repetition, focus on practice where you repeat, review, and refine specific parts of your speaking ability. So for pronunciation, choose difficult sounds or words and practice them for 5 or 10 minutes each day, every single day if it's possible. Use tongue twisters to make it more fun. So you can also have a daily speaking prompts. So for example, you can prepare a list of speaking prompts. I don't know, for example, describing your favorite childhood memory or explain how a smartphone works to someone who's never used it before. And practice answering one prompt every day. Recording and reviewing. So you can record yourself speaking and playing back to review your pronunciation, fluency, and clarity. So take notes on what you can improve and repeat sentences again, focus on those areas. Using self-talk and inner monologue to strengthen fluency. Your brain's always working, you're always thinking about something. So self-talk can be an amazing way to practice speaking even when you are alone. So this technique will make you more fluent, and it also helps you think directly in English without translating from your native language. So what you can do is narrate your day. So as you go about your daily activities, speak to yourself in English. Describe what you are doing, thinking, and seeing. Example, I'm walking to the store to buy some groceries. I need to remember to buy milk and eggs. You also can do self-reflection in English. So at the end of each day, talk aloud to yourself about how your day went. So reflect on your accomplishments, challenges, or even things you are excited about for tomorrow. So this turns thinking in English into a natural habit. Another thing that you can do, debate with yourself. Pick a topic and argue from one side, then switch and argue for the other side. This helps you with improvisational thinking and speaking. So for example, argue in favor of online education, then switch to defend traditional classroom learning. Another thing that you can do, ask and answer your own questions. So throughout the day, ask yourself questions and then respond out loud in English. So for example, what I'm going to eat for dinner, maybe some pasta, or should I order something? Turning speaking practice into a lifelong habit. Finally, the goal is to make speaking English a lifelong habit, so something you do naturally every day without forcing it. This is how you move from short-term learning to long-term learning. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna schedule speaking into your daily routine. So attach your speaking practice to something you already do daily, like, I don't know, during work or your morning routine or before bed. So for example, use your phone's voice recording so you can record yourself speaking when you are getting ready, when you are on a walk or something. All these daily activities that you do, that most people make excuses that they cannot do anything, but they actually can. You also have to find speaking opportunities. So actively seek out chances to speak in English. So join my online community, for example. You can go there and present yourself, introduce yourself, and then see if someone is going to respond, see if you have something in common with another person. And look, you do these things if you want to practice with someone. If you want to just practice by yourself, it's okay. You can do all the things that I just told you to do. But if you want to practice by yourself, you have to know that speaking with someone is one of the best ways, is the best way. But of course, you can improve, make progress by just speaking by yourself. I just don't want you to say that you don't have anyone to talk to. You want to, but you don't have anyone. I don't want you to say that, because that is just an excuse. Because if you really wanted to do it, and if you didn't let fear control you, you would do it, because there's so many opportunities out there. You literally have the internet, social media, so you can find anyone, anywhere in the world. So one of the best things that you can do is speak with others regularly. Nothing beats real interaction. So find a speaking buddy or a language partner and set regular times for conversations. The key here is consistent. So don't let so much time pass between conversations. Because if you talk to someone one day and then the next day that you talk to someone is 1 week, 2 weeks later, it's going to take so much more time for you to improve and make progress. So make sure that you are every single day, if it's possible, or at least 3-4 times a week, practicing speaking. And when you don't have anyone to talk to, let's say one day you have someone and you talk to that person, and then the next week you don't have anyone for some reason, then you can practice by yourself. but make sure that you're practicing every single day. Gamify your learning. So one of the best things that you can do is create a point system or set fun challenges to yourself. Like, if I speak in English for 30 minutes every day for a week, I will reward myself with a movie night. If I can hold a 5-minute conversation with a native speaker without hesitating, I will treat myself to my favorite dessert. So that way you know that the only way that you can do that thing that you enjoy is by speaking English, is by practicing. You're not gonna be able to do that thing if you don't do this. So that's gonna work as a system for you to reinforce yourself to practice every single day. And also, celebrate your progress. Every milestone you reach, whether it's speaking for 5 minutes straight without pausing, or nailing a tough conversation or pronunciation, celebrate. This will help you stay motivated and reinforce the idea that speaking English is a natural thing to do and it can be an enjoyable part of your life. So putting all together, the simple and perfect routine becomes this. Morning, 5 to 10 minutes. Goal setting. Think about your goal for the day. Today, I'll practice talking about my job for 10 minutes. Self-talk practice. As you get ready, talk to yourself about your plans for the day. Midday. Focus repetitional drill. Pick a pronunciation exercise or a speaking prompt. Repeat it multiple times until it feels smooth. Afternoon, 15 minutes. Speaking session. Use a voice recording app or talk to a language partner. Focus on real-life topics like your work, hobbies, or something you've learned. Evening, 5 minutes. Reflection. Before bed, talk out loud about how your day went. Focus on speaking smoothly and naturally. Weekly routine. 1 to 2 times a week, have a long conversation with a partner or with yourself for 30 to 60 minutes. Once a week, review your progress, update your goals, and add new challenges. So this is one of the best routines that you can follow. And like I said, you can remove and add things and adapt to your own life. If you follow this, I guarantee you that you can improve no matter what. So I decided to change things a little bit here. I want to give you 6 problems that you should avoid if you really want to succeed. If you want to become fluent, if you want to speak English fluently, you should avoid these problems. And the first one is time, expectation. Many of you believe that you're going to be able to do this in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. This is not true at all. Let's say this is going to take you from 6 months to 2 years. It really depends how much discipline you have, how much you're going to practice every single day, and what level you are right now. It really depends. So this is going to take you from 6 months to 2 years. And you have to be realistic, and you have to accept that. And you have to be driven. You have to want that. You have to want that, because if you don't want that, you're not going to be able to endure all the things that you have to go through to achieve this. You know what I mean? So make sure that you accept that it's going to take you a few months or a few years, 1 or 2 years. It really depends on how much you're going to practice. It really depends how driven you are, how much discipline you have. And then I guarantee you that you're going to be able to achieve a pretty good level in this window of time. And then you're going to be able to go out there and do all the things that you want to do. Now, of course, you can do other things and achieve other goals that you have while you keep practicing, you keep improving. But to reach a level that you're able to speak fluently with confidence, you gotta make sure that you give a solid and a reasonable amount of time so you can do this. The second one is impatience. Impatience. If you don't develop this skill of being patient, you're not gonna be able to do this. Because so many people go through this process, and in 1 month, 2 months, they don't see any results at all. And it doesn't mean that they are doing something wrong. It just means that they are not patient. They cannot wait to get the results that they want. So if you are patient, if you can develop the skill of being patient, you will be fine. You will be fine. Trust me. The third one is listening to doubts. At some point, you're gonna have all these doubts in your mind. during the process, and you cannot listen to them. They're not real. There's gonna be something like, you're not good enough, you're not making progress, you're not improving. Is this even worth it? You cannot listen to them. Many people listen to the doubts that, are in their heads all the time, and it's not worth it. They're not real. If you listen to them, they're gonna make you give up. So make sure that once that happens, don't listen. Number 4 is low volume. You cannot expect to be good at something if you don't do enough. If you don't do enough, you cannot expect to be good at it. If you are every day practicing 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're doing something. It's better than nothing. But you know that it's going to take you even more time than it could take you if you were studying, practicing for 1 hour, 2, 3, even 5 hours a day. And if you think that you don't have time, that is just an excuse. Most people, when they say they don't have time, it's just an excuse. It's just an excuse because you might even work 12 hours a day. I used to work 12 hours a day and I made it happen. I made it happen. So if I can, you also can. I'm not special. I'm not special. And if you think you don't have time and you still work you work 12 hours a day and you still don't have time, you think that you don't have time, just stop going on your phone and scrolling on social media and doing meaningless things that don't add to your end goal in life. Then you're gonna add up 2, 3, even 4 hours so you can pursue your goals. You just gotta stop distracting yourself because you go to your job, you go to school, and then once you get home, you wanna numb yourself. You wanna scroll, you wanna eat junk food, you wanna do all these things that distracts you from your main goal, from the goal that's gonna change your life forever. And once you stop doing this, then you have much more time. You have so much more time than you actually thought that you had. And it's incredible. If you learn how to do this, you will never again say that you don't have time. Number 5 is over learning. Many people spend too much time consuming information, watching videos, listening to podcasts, reading books, and there's nothing wrong with that. You have to do these things. But the problem is that they don't take action. They don't apply into their lives. They consume too much. And you have to be careful with that because when you watch something to solve a problem and you watch it, your brain is going to release the same amount of dopamine that it would if you actually achieve that goal. So if you watch something to solve a problem, it's going to feel like you are solving that problem, but you're not doing anything. You're just consuming information, but you're not taking action to solve that problem. It's going to feel like you're solving that problem because your brain is going to release dopamine, but that is not true at all. You're just going to stay in the same place forever if you just consume information thinking that you're solving a problem, but you're not actually doing anything. So if you're not careful, you get yourself into a loop that you are always consuming information, and it feels good because the dopamine that your brain is going to release is really similar to actually achieving that goal. And you're just going to get yourself into a loop again and again, consuming information and not applying it because it's uncomfortable to take action and apply things into your life. It's uncomfortable. And many people fear that. They're afraid of taking action and they don't do nothing at all. And I'm telling this, be careful with this because this might be you right now. You are consuming, overlearning all these things and you're not taking action. So make sure that all the things that you're consuming right now, that you're learning here with this video, that you take action, that you go and you apply it to your own life. So then you can actually improve because just by watching this, you're not improving. You're not improving, trust me. Finally, number 6, quitting. I cannot stress this enough. You still can do all these things. If you keep doing these things, but you don't quit, you will succeed. Eventually, you will succeed. Doesn't matter if you keep doing these things or not. Of course, if you don't do these things, you're gonna succeed faster. You should avoid them. But if you keep doing these things, for some reason you watch this video, but you still decide to keep doing these things, but you just don't quit, you will succeed eventually one day. It's gonna take longer, but you will. Most people quit. If you wanna guarantee failure, quit. Just quit. This is the worst thing that you can do. The worst. Never give up. Never. And you'll be surprised of how much people quit. How much people just throw it all away and don't do it anymore. And if you're still here, if you're still watching this video, it shows me that you are serious. You want to improve, you want to change your life. And you just have to keep going. Don't quit. Just keep going. If something's not working, change things. Make sure that you are always making progress, improving. And never quit. Never. This is all for this video. I really hope it helps you, and I see you next time.